It is a measure of your sincerity, sir, that you personally came to my office to invite me to be a part of today's reconciliation service and to receive your apology and the apology of the Church. I thank you most sincerely for your kind gesture. On behalf of the Girmetias and the Fiji Labour Party, I accept the apology by you and by the Methodist Church and the Methodist community for the role the Church played in the 1987 and 2000 coups. The Fiji Labour Party was a victim of these coups, and its leaders, supporters, and their families were subjected to violence and harassment on 3 different occasions. The people of Indian origin were targeted, innocent people persecuted for their ethnicity and deprived of their rights and status as citizens of the very nation they had readily accepted and worked hard to build. The 2000 coup was particularly violent and vicious, when once again, innocent people, particularly those in the rural communities, were terrorized. Their homes burned down, their crops and livestock stolen or destroyed. Many were driven from their homes and the lands that they had tilled for generations. The city of Suva was set alight, and Indian shops were smashed and looted. Our security forces were nowhere in sight while all this was happening to restore law and order. That was the sad part about it. That was the sad part about it all. Those who were responsible for restoring, maintaining law and order, were conspicuously absent that morning. They were not seen until many hours later. Members of my government, including women ministers and members of parliament, were taken hostage at gunpoint and terrorized for up to 8 weeks in parliament. Those were traumatic times, and many thousands of our people were forced to leave the country to seek safer and more secure future elsewhere. I honestly believe that an apology is owed to the entire nation, not just to the Girmetia community. Everyone suffered from this misguided and unlawful prisoners' action of the extremists who chose to take law in their own hands, be they members of the elected government, be they the business community, be they the workers, the farmers, or the poor. No matter what, race or creed, they all suffered. The entire nation suffered. And paid a heavy price for the senseless actions of a few. As Reverend Vuniswai has admitted, the economic, social, and political implications of these upheavals were utterly devastating, putting our country back many decades in terms of development. The consequent brain drain in itself deprived the nation of some of our best professionals, tradesmen, and artisans, the very people we sorely need today for our own development. It is therefore magnanimous of the Methodist Church to apologize for the wrongs inflicted on our people. But let me say that they are not alone in this. It is well accepted that the 2000 coup was also supported and financed by certain business elements, by the business community. while misguided nationalists and extremists claiming to protect indigenous interests did play a role in instigating destabilization, it is also known that the key elements behind the coup were failed politicians, unscrupulous businesses, and opportunists. Greed for money and grab for power were the main factors. Regrettably, all 4 coups were either staged or supported by the elements in the army. It is thus very pertinent to ask who benefited from all this. It was certainly not the indigenous community, in whose name at least the first 3 coups were executed. Statistics today show that despite the lofty motives given for the coups, the majority of our indigenous people today are far worse off than they were in 1987. Many of them barely surviving. Latest statistics show that our Itoke community comprised 75% of those living in poverty. These are shocking statistics, but it also reveals how these simple people were used and misled. Someone needs to apologize to them too. I think they were misled. In a manner of speaking, they were also exploited to serve the agendas of a few. I, for one, can vouch for the fact that indigenous rights and interests were never in danger under my government in 1999-2000 or under the Bavandra government in 1987. In fact, I remember President Ratu Sekamise Semara telling me after reading our 1999 manifesto that I would do a lot more for the Fijian people. Ladies and gentlemen, going into the future, we must take concrete steps to prevent such acts from ever again wrecking our nation and destroying our national harmony. We are a multiracial country. There will always be elements that will seek to upset the equilibrium in the pursuit of their own vested interests by playing on the fears and emotions of the vulnerable in society. I accept that apologies and utterances of remorse are part of the healing process and thus necessary. But it must not just end there with a one-off ceremony. We must look into the future and take concrete measures to prevent coups and other forms of political violence from ever again destroying the fabric of our society. Groups of communities with grievances, whether real or perceived, should have an avenue or a forum where they can seek redress. I suggest the establishment of an independent institution to deal with such matters. This is nothing new. The idea of a body along the lines of that set up in South Africa after the apartheid era was mooted here after the 1987 and the 2000 coups, but not acted upon by successive governments. I believe that a specially created institution of this nature should not only be tasked with dealing with the truth of what had happened in the past, it should also be empowered to deal with grievances or concerns affecting the different groups that constitute our nation. Its primary function will be to create a better understanding between Fiji's diverse communities and to advise government on the steps it should take to promote national harmony, understanding, and peace building. This process must start from our homes and extend to our schools, to our churches, to our temples, to our mosques, and of course to our workplaces. It is time now to make amends. We all must be a part of the healing process and of peace building to take Fiji forward. To conclude, I once again thank you, sir, and members of the Methodist Church for your magnanimous gesture. We are deeply honored and touched by it. Prime Minister Rambuka, I also accept your apology, be it that it was in a personal capacity that you apologize. I accept the apology of Trangavonivalu to Ikamba, Baramaroko to Indraketi, and the Tuidakau. Thank you very much for your magnanimity. I think the spirit is there now. We can all work together. It's a great day for the nation. A day worth celebrating. It will go down well in the annals of our history. Let's build on it. May God bless Fiji.